Well, welcome to the Ozarks Fiber Studios. We're excited to have with us today Landon Keene and Jarett Scharenhorst, and we're going to be talking a little bit today about younger people in politics, and particularly about Gen Z in politics. Landon is currently a candidate for the 142nd District State Representative, and Jarett is recently elected to the Lebanon City Council. And so, guys, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having us, and we're excited.
Good. So politics is kind of an interesting field. Obviously, we're all interested in it, but I want to just learn a little bit about the two of you first. And I'll start with Jarett. What got you interested in politics first? Why is this something that you've decided to put some time and effort into?
Sure, yeah. I got interested in politics quite a while ago. It was really Ron Paul's presidential campaign back in the day. And if you know anything about Ron Paul, he went kind of above and beyond kind of generic political slogans and talked about kind of deeper issues, you know, the national debt and our involvement overseas and all these things that a lot of guys don't really touch on and, you know, stay at a really base level. But he you know, really gathered kind of a youth movement at the time, and I very much fell into that and got interested in things like economics and monetary policy and things that many young people might find very boring. But I went in head first, and so that's how I got involved, and then, you know, got to college and started a Young Americans for Liberty chapter, which is kind of a spin-off of those presidential campaigns and the youth movement that kind of rose up out of that.
Okay, so you just went head first into the weeds.
Yeah, that's right. That's
cool.
right.
That's cool. Well, Landon, what was your first opening in politics? How'd you get involved in the beginning?
Mine was a little bit more gradual, I would say.
Okay.
You know, growing up, politic was always such a dirty word, you know, to be said. As someone who's a Christian, I really truly thought that someone who is successful in politics cannot be successful in their faith, right? That's just was my philosophy growing up. And so in college, I got involved in Young Americans for Liberty and with Turning Point. But then I actually just did an internship with at the time Congresswoman Hartzler. It was just a short little internship. It wasn't anything fancy, but she was the first I call a high level politician I ever interacted with. That she was 100% Christian, but also 100% where she should have been, where the Lord had placed her. And so she really showed me that you can combine the two if you do it in a very specific way. And so because of that, I was able to really move forward and say, this is something that I think the Lord might be leaning me towards in the future. And so that's really what got me into the whole political realm after that. Okay,
well, very interesting. So my real first question to you after the personal side is, a lot of people your age, I think, Landon, you're 26, right?
Yes.
And Jarett, you're 28?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. A lot of people your age, and my age too, they're busy. They're getting on their feet. And I'm just kind of curious, at this stage of life, being younger like you guys are, what made you want to get involved by running for an actual position? What made you want to do that at this point in your life?
Yeah, and I'm at a very busy point in my life. I'm told by many people I'm one of the busiest people they know. I've got 3 kids. You know, I've got the job up in Jefferson City as well as a staffer. But I got involved now because I deeply care about this community. You know, I care about local government and making sure that things are running smoothly here. And so I figured now was as good a time as any. I you know, have talked a lot of game over the years about how I believe the local is most important and is what is most impactful and, you know, just what matters the most. And so I figured I'd put my money where my mouth is and actually get involved. And so, yes, it's a busy time of my life, but I know it's well worth it. You know, it's the work is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have wondered myself what kind of coffee you drink.
Believe it or not, I do not drink coffee. My wife continually tries to get me to drink coffee, and I just...
If you drink coffee, you'd be in Congress by now.
That might be true. That might be true. But Landon, yeah, same question. What what about this stage in your life? Why now have you decided to run for state representative?
You know, I feel as if young people have this go-getter attitude, right? And sometimes that could be confidence, and sometimes that could be arrogance. And I'm always in the philosophy of I did not step into politics; I stepped up into politics because there was a gap that needed to be filled, right? And so for me, it was looking at a situation where we have an outgoing representative who personally I really enjoy and thought that they did a really good job in ensuring that community support was, withstanding, right? Not an institutional candidate, but someone that actually is here locally. And being young, I'm sure Jarett can attest, we are living in the same realities that are hot button topics: cost of living, inflation, student loan debt, right? Well, regardless what that looks like, healthcare costs, insurance, those are things that we are living each and every day. And so for me, it was about, this is something that I am already deeply invested in a community. And I'm already living out these things that everyone is debating about. Why not step up? Because I truly believe that every generation deserves a seat at the table. Not that one generation is better than the other, but that a good government will have representation for all. And I think that that's what really brought me to this time.
Yeah, I think that that's a really interesting point, that the younger folks do have kind of that go-get-em attitude. And even to that point, there's a lot of stereotypes about young people of every generation, right? The up-and-coming generation, but Gen Z specifically. And so I'm kind of curious what you guys have found to be helpful in trying to kind of combat some of those stereotypes about young people getting involved in politics, and both generally young people and Gen Z specifically. I'll throw that to you, Landon.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest misconception is that young people don't like or care about politics. I would argue that it's the fact that they don't feel heard. And if they don't feel heard, if they don't feel like their opinion is valid or taken into account, they're not going to participate. And so you could point out that voter turnout among the younger generation is pretty low. And I would argue yes, and that's because that's why we need that younger representation. And so I think that there's a lot of stereotypes, but at the end of the day, what young people crave is transparency and honesty. They don't crave the institution. They don't want the well-funded networking candidate. They want someone that can listen, can hear, will not be that polished politician. What they see is what they get. And I think that that's why you have so many young people now that have reached the age where they can run, and they're no longer saying that they'll wait their turn. They're going to go ahead and step out because they see a problem, they want to see a need, fill a need, and they're not worried about what other people think. They just want to try to solve the problem.
Yeah.
I think that younger people today, to their credit, are getting involved more politically and locally and in their community, because I think that my generation and a little bit younger, a little bit older, kind of our age range, kind of really sees what has been lost, right? Like they see the community that existed in the past, just what life was like before with all the, civic involvement and everything, and how that's kind of been lost over time. And I think that spurred a lot of young people to try to get more involved, either in politics, just stuff in town, in their churches, civic organizations, whatever it is. I think we're seeing more young people today starting to get more involved in those things and realize they're important, because we're realizing that somebody has to carry it on, right?
Yeah.
If we don't do it, then nobody's going to do it, right? And so that's just what I've seen from many younger families and people that I know, that we're not as withdrawn as people think we are. That many people that I know are realizing that we need to step up and take the torch, right? So.
Yeah. On that line, even, I think that a lot of the perception of young people is that they're getting involved to change things, right? And that is largely true. Younger people do see some things that they think may be broken. I'm kind of curious for both of you, what do you see that needs to be maintained? What are the things that are in the purview of government to affect, both at the state level and at the city level, that really aren't in need of great radical change? They need sort of a caretaker. Lanny, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think a common misconception is that more is better. If we pass more bills or if we fund more things, things will get better or things will change. And I think, to your point, a lot of people around my age say, well, what's the point of looking and refining something, right? Taking something that works and maybe realizing how we can make it better, right? Not changing it, but simply protecting it for future generations. And I think that comes down to local control. I think you have a lot of young people that that maybe view things on a state level that should be more localized, right? And so what does the local community do best? They know how to provide for their services. They know how to educate their kids, right? Mm-hmm. And so what does it look like, not just to take control on a state level and to change a lot, but to say, let's refine this and let's make sure that the local communities have the support that they need, but that we're not going in and just flipping communities left and right. And so that goes more to Jared's point of, I really agree with him that local elections are just as important as presidential elections, right? Because my job on a state level is not going to be to pass more. It's going to see how can we get more to him, mm-hmm. right? And let him decide what needs to be refined. And so there are multiple different avenues, but I think locally they do things a little bit better than the state simply because it's not a one-size-fits-all system. And so the more we can keep local, I think the better outcomes we'll have.
Yeah, you never know, but I doubt that President Trump is going to propose a new park on Mount Rose. But that is something that you can affect and is going to really going to make a difference in people's lives. But yeah, similar question, Jarett. What do you see out there that maybe isn't broken, but that might need a strong advocate to maintain?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot that isn't broken that needs to be maintained, and I think that's something again that I think people tend to see the things that young people say. This needs to change, and the changes they want to make, and there are those things that need to be changed. But a lot of younger people, including myself, can even have a more conservative disposition of wanting to maintain things, right? Maintaining our very forms of government, right? We want to maintain, a Republican form of government, where the people are in charge, right? We want to maintain what we've inherited as far as that, American way of life. I think many people want to see that continued, and we want to see. Again, like communities in the past, we want to see people be able to afford homes and build families and have good jobs. These are the things we want to see continue, right? We don't want to see those things go away. We want to maintain what that kind of American standard of life, right, has been held up to be for so long. So I think those are kinds of the things that young people today would want to maintain, including myself. So.
And I would piggyback off that and to say I don't think that's limited to just our generation, right? Every generation wants to be able to have a good life and to be able to provide for their future generations. And so I think you just see it more vocal with the younger guys because we're the ones that are moving into the housing market. We are the ones that are moving into this season of life. And so we're the ones that are going to be advocating and fighting alongside other generations and other people who are already involved in politics to make sure that we do protect what we value.
Right. And we're also the ones who, really, really don't want to see it slip away because we've got to deal with it for even longer, right? So even more stake in the game, right? So, yeah.
So I want to shift a little bit and talk about education, and not necessarily as a policy issue, but as it pertains to you guys individually. So Landon, I know you went to Liberty University and then got your master's at Georgetown. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
And Jarett, you just finished your last law school final yesterday.
I did.
So
yes.
You'll be admitted into the bar in short time.
Yes. Got to pass that bar exam first, though.
A mortician, a politician, and a lawyer. Man, what a great group of people.
If you're still watching, bless you. But as far as education goes, obviously, to get involved in politics, you don't have to go to law school. You don't have to go get your master's degree. These aren't necessities to get involved. I want to talk a little bit, though, about why you made the decision to go as far as you did with your education. did that play into maybe some of your political beliefs, or vice versa? Did your political beliefs make you think, I do need to get as much education as I can in order to be effective? And I'll let you talk first since school's fresh on your mind.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so one of the reasons I decided to go as far as I did is, working up in the General Assembly for my first boss, he had just finished law school. And to see his kind of analysis of legislation and policy and everything versus other non-legally trained legislators, was kind of blown away, right? I was like, I want to possess those powers, right? To be able to look at a bill and break down, well, this won't work because of this case, or whatever all the legal reasonings are. And so that's kind of he kind of inspired me to take that further step. But also, a young guy with a family, I figured, hey, why not go for it? Especially, the school that I go to, Dayton, able to do it online, so very easy to balance that with the job and with kids. And so, I just figured it certainly wouldn't hurt to have a law degree, and so decided to take that step, and certainly interested in practicing a little bit too, and also being able to use that law degree to help people that I know and help people in town, because the law is a tool for that, right? In terms of resolving disputes and helping people with problems that they have. And so that was another thing that kind of spurred me on in terms of getting that degree and finishing it out, right? And in terms of realizing what I can help do for others with it, right?
Yeah, and a political position is not a guaranteed thing. So
yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. My current boss is not running for re-election, so. As a staffer, you go through these seasons where you're trying to find the next person, and so it certainly doesn't hurt to have a law degree to fall back on. So yeah.
And Landon, like we said, you have your master's degree. You've explained it to me before, but I'm not entirely sure I totally understand. What is your education in? And then again, back to the question: how has that influenced your politics, or how did your politics kind of influence the education you decided to go for?
Of course. And so my undergrad from Liberty, which is in Virginia, is international relations and diplomacy. And so that's focused a lot on U.S. relations with other countries and how we interact and how it could benefit the U.S. in the future. My master's degree, my concentration was orbital satellite technology.
Okay.
And so I focused a
got
lot
that
on...
so far.
So I focused on emerging satellite tech and the privatization of that. More specifically, how would it impact our country, whether it's for use in farming, whether it's for use for private companies like Starlink, right? And so it was kind of the future of what that looked like. And the track was going to be, well, I'll work for Space Force, I'll work for SpaceX, right? And what I realized, going to undergrad, it was a Christ-centered school. And for me, that was definitely number one. And my dad always used to tell me the only two things that you get what you pay for is a bulletproof vest and your education. And so going into college, my father was the first one in the family to go to college at all, and he worked his way through. And so I wanted to continue that tradition. When it came to a master's degree and something that was unrelated to what I was doing, there was a few aspects. One was simply the fact that I was a little selfish, and the job market wasn't good. It was around the COVID times, and I thought, well, I do what a lot of young people do, like a lot of young people. And I said, I'll go back to school, and I'll continue to learn of how my community can benefit from this education. And then the side that I did not expect was going to Georgetown in D.C. It's a very left-leaning school, right? And so it really challenged both my political beliefs as well as my faith to say you have to do more than just know what you believe. You have to know why, right? And there's a lot of challenge and growth there. And so when I got done, when I walked into the school for grad school, I thought my career was going to be in D.C., or I thought my career was going to be abroad as a diplomat. And when I left, I realized my career needs to be here, because to go through and get an education and to realize that the very thing you're doing it for is the people back home. Well, the biggest impact you can make is on a local level, right? It can't happen in the walls of DC, and it can't happen in an embassy overseas. You can make small changes, but to see the change, it has to be here. And so that's really what brought me back, is to say, how can I utilize these two very, very different degrees, right? And kind of inject them into things I'm passionate about, which is things like small business, agriculture, as well as just policy in general. And so, and I'm not going to say that I'm done with school, right? I would love to, in the next 5 or 10 years, look at a law degree, the same way that Jarett was talking about, because it's good to have that knowledge whenever you are crafting or whenever you're looking over legislation. And so I think education is important, but it is definitely not vital. The smartest person I've ever met was my grandfather, and he was a high school dropout, right? He had what he lacked in dollars, he made it for in cents. And so I definitely get your point. But that's kind of what brought me to that path. Was I really didn't know what to expect. I knew I wanted to help people. And it wasn't until I was done at Georgetown that I realized that my help is back here, and this is where I can really pour into my community.
Yeah.
I will say I am done with school. That is it.
No PhD or med degree, nothing like that?
No.
Oh, my goodness.
That's good. So you guys are both participating at different levels. Jarett, you're Ward 1 councilman.
Yeah.
And Landon, you're running for state representative. Different size communities,
Sure.
different makeups, really totally. But I'm curious, what have you learned about the community that we live in? What have you learned about Lebanon? What have you learned about the 142nd District since engaging in this process and putting yourselves out there as candidates?
Well, I've just learned what all goes into running this city, and it's a lot more than people would think, right? Whenever I first decided to run, I took a look through the previous year's budget and was just kind of flipping through it and just looking at all the things that are in it and all the different services and employees and getting to know all the people at City Hall and seeing all the things that go into just maintaining our city. But also, going out and talking with people in the community and hearing about the things they love about our community, the things they'd like to see be improved, the ways that they're involved in doing things locally. It's been really great just to become even more familiar with the city and so I've learned a lot, and I'm going to continue learning. I've got a lot to learn in terms of how the city operates and everything, but it's been really eye-opening just to see everything that goes into it, right? I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Yeah, very good.
Do you want that list alphabetically or in order of most importance?
I'll give you that. What has been the most striking thing that you've learned about our community, and then we can go from there.
It's cliche to say that everyone has problems they want fixed. However, until you really talk to people and until you really sit down, you realize that you cannot fix everyone's problems. People will come to you with something that in their eyes is very, very important, and it should be treated and it should be listened to. But you have to realize that sometimes your role is not to just fix the problem and move on. Your role is to listen. Right, and to provide that supportive nature of, yes, you're right, like this is a problem, and that's really what surprised me the most, which is I thought all the issues I would be coming into contact with would be very easy. Are you pro-choice or pro-life? Here's why. Are you this? Are you that? But it's small issues, it's local issues, it's federal issues, right? Like things that don't necessarily fall under my umbrella, but that people just want to feel like they're listened to. And so I always tell people, and you've heard me say it before, I cannot fix all your problems. I could point you to someone who can, but what I can do is really just listen, understand what needs to be fixed, and together we can move along and try to get it done, not only to benefit you, but to benefit the community. And so that's what I've realized in my short time is that everyone has something that they're passionate about, and it's taking that, listening to them, and trying to find a common ground in which it can benefit the whole community.
All right.
Yeah, those local issues really are oftentimes more complex than you think. I think a lot of people think oftentimes, just kind of in those kind of high level political slogans that you were alluding to. But then you get down into the nitty gritty of, stormwater management and funds in the city and all these kinds of things that are not so, you couldn't probably walk up to a person on the street and elicit, a straightforward answer on what the issue even is, right? So,
and that's something we're about to get blasted with in Missouri with the sales tax, income tax thing. We're about to find out how much information legislators really have to cycle through in order to make a decision. So absolutely, there's just a ton that goes into everything, and it's a lot of the times more complicated than we might realize. But we're about to be a part of that, like you said before. Being a republic, the choice is coming back to the people. So I want to do a quick lightning round since you guys are so really just kind of steeped, educated, and I want to do a quick lightning round of just some quick questions with some quick answers. So we'll go back and forth, and we'll start with Landon. Landon, tell us real quick your favorite political thinker.
My favorite political thinker is probably, I don't want to copy him, but it's going to be Ron Paul.
All right.
I think he had great ideas.
All right.
I'll keep it short.
Jarett, you can say Rand Paul if you want to.
No, that's okay. I'll go a little bit deeper here. Probably Russell Kirk.
Oh man,
deep
cut.
Deep cut. Big Russell Kirk fan. I've read most of his works. Those had a big impact on me in terms of realizing, again, our American inheritance and just what has gone into our country and all that. So.
All right, Ron Paul and Russell Kirk. Good answers. What person do you most want to emulate in your political life, Landon?
Already gave it away, Congresswoman Hartzler. I think that she led well. She never let politics get the best of her. And at the end of the day, she still ended and started every day with a prayer. And I thought that really meant a lot to me.
Yeah, awesome. Jarett?
But, I guess I can take it back to somebody like Ron Paul and just somebody that can really, I guess, speak to issues and try to get people involved and try to solve the issues. And so, that's a tough question, actually, trying to emulate a particular person in the political life. But
there's no one you're trying to totally imitate.
That's right.
You certainly want to do it in your own way.
Yeah, that's right. I'm trying to be most authentically me and try to lead in the way that I know best. But I've known many great leaders too, and all the people that I've worked for up in Jeff City have been great models for me. Phil Crispinelli, Wendy Hausman, Derek Ryer, my current boss, Mary Elizabeth Coleman. They all are great, I think, civic leaders, political leaders, and I strive to operate in a similar fashion. So
that's good. Yeah. That's good. All right, Landon, if you're reading a book right now, what are you reading?
I am reading, it's called Running God's Way, and it is a book that primarily focuses on running for office, but in a Christ-like way, and what it means to win or lose, but to run a good campaign. And so that's why I've been reading lately.
All right, good. Jarett, reading anything right now?
I am a big reader.
Okay.
Prior to law school, I was putting up 100-plus books a year.
Oh, man.
Most of my reading lately has been bar prep materials.
Sure.
You want to give a shout out to the author? Of the bar
thank you, Barbary. I do have. I'm trying to think of. I have some books open right now.
What was your last pleasure read? We'll modify.
My last pleasure read. I don't even know if I should say. So it's a book called They Flew. It's about a history of people of levitations and bilocations and stuff in the Middle Ages. I'm a big history buff.
Yeah.
My degree was in history, and this is kind of really a it's kind of really a history book, kind of talking about, you know, the primary sources and stuff from the Middle Ages, talking about, you know, particular saints and stuff like that have said to have flown and stuff like that. And so very different book, very not tied into politics or anything at all. But again, or law or anything like that. And that's exactly what I need, is something totally out there. So yeah.
If your day job was filled with tracking down levitations, I would be maybe a little concerned. But no, that's interesting.
We'll talk about those issues later.
Right.
Yeah. Well, guys, just kind of closing out here, what would be your advice? Because our lightning round was kind of like the lightning the other night. It lingered. But what would be your advice for people your age or younger, maybe even college students who want to get involved? Where's the place that you would point them first?
I would point them towards local campaigns, right? The places that often need the most support but have the least are locally. And that's where you will see the impact. You can volunteer, you can give back, you can see that change. And then that can kind of give your foot in the water. If you're in college, any sort of internship, paid, unpaid, it does not matter. But find someone that you respect that is doing a job. And if they're running, whether you think they will win or lose, give your loyalty to them, volunteer with them, and really just do your best and see the community for what it is. And I think starting local is the best opportunity to have that.
Yeah, that's great.
I would fully agree with Landon's answer, particularly, you know, getting involved in campaigns, I think is big, especially if you're wanting to break into politics. But also, you know, if you're in college as a young person right now, get involved on campus, right? Get involved in Young Americans for Liberty or College Republicans, College Democrats, you know, whatever organization might float your boat. Get involved. Don't hesitate. If you think it's something you want to do, just do it. You can think of all sorts of reasons why, you know, oh, maybe now's not the time. I got to study. I got all these things going on. But just get involved. Get involved in the campaigns. Get involved in the student organizations. Just get out there and get into it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Landon Keene, Jarett Scharenhorst, thank you for joining us here today. This has been a really fascinating conversation. Gained a lot from it. And so best of luck to both of you in your endeavors. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep.